Hello Popcorn Junkies, and welcome to this review of the new Lynne Ramsay film, Die My Love. I see it as the new Lynne Ramsay film because I'm an enormous fan of Lynne Ramsay, the director, but most people will see this as the new Jennifer Lawrence film, or the new Robert Pattinson film, which of course both actors, brilliant. They've Robert Pattinson's now Batman. Jennifer Lawrence has been a little bit sort of in the wilderness. She was in that Don't Look Up, about an interstellar object. Lynne Ramsay, she's an auteur, she's an authorial Scottish filmmaker. She makes incredibly visceral, abstract, intense, yearning, twisted, sort of abrasive, stylistically abrasive films, both emotionally, visually, stylistically, everything. I came to her mostly through a film called Morven Caller. We need to talk about Kevin, the film of the book about the psychopathic kid. That was probably her biggest crossover film. And then her film before this one was You Were Never Really Here. Again, another really weird, twisted, non-narrative almost portrait of was he a kind of bounty hunter type strange dude, Joaquin Phoenix, on the hunt for someone, trying to rescue someone from a kind of paedophilic type situation. Dreamy, twisted, dark, evocative, unsettling. She's really interested in the psychoanalysis and the internal workings of her characters. And so consequently, I came to this film, Die My Love, thinking, whoa, hey, we're going to get a really intriguing, really messy, really rough at the edges kind of deep dive into the mental state of essentially someone who slides into bipolar, but you could also argue slides into a sort of postnatal depression. As I say, it stars Jennifer Lawrence. It also stars Robert Pattinson. I mean, I like him as Batman. I've liked him in a few things. I don't know. There's something about him that kind of gets in the way. I did on the recommendation of a number of you guys. I did watch the Safdie brothers film, in which he played the brother of a slightly mentally challenged, if you like, brother. It was called Good Time. I liked it. I didn't like it as much as I liked Uncut Gems. I know a lot of people think, oh man, Good Time, it's just one of the greatest things. It was okay. And he was good in it, don't get me wrong, he was good in it. But I don't know whether I just struggle with kind of ditching his whole Twilight thing or whatever. But anyway, parking that to the side. I went into this thinking, yeah, this is going to be layered, this is going to be rich. We haven't seen anything from Lynne Ramsay for a few years now. I mean, it was kind of, how long ago was it? It's almost 8 years since her last film. So I was thinking, okay, yeah, it's going to be a film. It's about a couple. Saw the trailer. It felt a bit twisted. You felt there was going to be sort of violence at the edges. There's going to be breakdown. There's dysfunctionality. Is it going to be a relationship imploding and all that kind of stuff? So I was kind of like, yeah, man, I'm up for this. Now, let's talk about what I really liked about the film. Visually, she's an absolute artist. I would say that whether it be the kind of curtain shadow shots of Ratcatcher, the nightclubbing scenes of Morven Caller, the twisted, hallucinatory kind of dreamlike sequences of violence in You Were Never Really Here. She works with cinematographers that really deliver. She manages to do that thing with the moving image that elevates it beyond just telling you or showing you what it's showing you. Obviously, it's showing you what it's showing you. And it's not exactly magic realism, but she'll brighten the exposure or she'll crush the blacks. There's a lot of shots and sequences in this film, for example, where it looks like she's used a technique called day for night, where she essentially shoots in the day, crushes all the whites and gives it a sort of blue nighttime feel. Again, to add to that kind of mental dislocation, And I think that's something that she's very good at. She's very good at translating into picture and sequence and soundtrack the unraveling of a character's mind or a human mind. If I'm honest, it's the kind of work I like doing best in the edit, when you're making something about someone or about something. It's the abstract wash of other visual stuff that you can use to kind of really build the sense of unease and fragmentation and breakdown and all the rest of it. Now, this is a film, really. It's described as a black comedy drama. I wouldn't say it's black comedy at all. This is a really kind of angsty, in-your-face, raw, relentless process of a woman falling apart. She plays Grace. Robert Pattinson plays Jackson. They're moving into a rural shack in Montana. Always a bad move when you move out into the kind of wilderness, if you like. It used to belong to Robert Pattinson's uncle. We discover later in the film, this is a spoiler review, that his uncle took his own life in the most unusual of ways with a gun. There's quite a funny scene, actually, where Jennifer Lawrence is kind of asking Sissy Spacek, who lives nearby, actually. Sissy Spacek plays Robert Pattinson's mother, who's looking after Nick Nolte, Pattinson's father. Nick Nolte has sort of dementia, if you like, and has sort of like fits of fury in this film. He's very old, Nick Nolte. He's very, very frail. But we discover that her uncle actually took his life by placing his gun up his backside and blowing. What would you blow out? Do you blow your brains out? I guess if it's pointing all the way up, you do end up blowing your brains out, but you also blow your arse out too. Anyway, so they kind of move into this shack of a house. You know, they're in love. It's kind of passionate. They have lots of sex. It's quite sexy sex. It's all over the floor. It's all over the tables. It's all over the place. They just do it wherever they want to do it. You've got this kind of empty, there's flies everywhere. I quite like the fact that this film wasn't at all afraid of just showing flies. I must admit, I get so annoyed by flies in the summer, and all the way through this film I kind of wanted to run around with my zapper and take them all out. So it's hot, it's rural, it's lonely, it's barren, it's isolated. It's very odd. It's an odd choice of a place. Anyway, so he goes away to work to do whatever he does for work, but he has condoms in his glove compartment, and it's shown to us in one particular sequence. He basically goes out and has sex with people he meets in bars or diners. He has sex with a woman in a diner. And Jennifer Lawrence is at home looking after the baby, losing her mind. She's planning, when they move into the house, she's got paperwork, she's planning on writing a book. But not a word is written from the beginning of the film to the end of the film. In fact, the only moment she does write anything, or in a sense, it's not even ink to paper. Well, she does. She puts ink to paper, but she also puts breast milk to paper too. And there's a moment where she's sort of looking down on a piece of paper. She drops the kind of ink drops from her ink pen and then lactates onto the top of them. The weird thing about this was it has all the right ingredients. You know, Jennifer Lawrence is acting, after what I've just said, acting her tits off. I mean, she's really giving it everything. She's going on an internal, sort of search of the soul. She's losing her mind. She's lost her body. She's a highly sexualized woman who's beginning to get less and less sex with her husband. The baby is what a baby would be in a place like this where there's no Wi-Fi and you're on your own. The baby becomes draining, distracting. It gets in the way of their relationship. The sexiness and sexual attraction between the two of them diminishes. He's getting sex somewhere else. They're not having enough sex. She wants more sex. She even orders sex one night when they pull up and says, "Can we have sex now?" And she sort of leaps on him, and it just doesn't work. Sissy Spacek, meanwhile, is the kind of mother-in-law from, well, not hell, but she's and I think her casting is really good, because I carried into this a lot of the kind of Badlands, that film she was in as a young woman, a young girl, alongside Martin Sheen. And there's a Badlands, the landscape in this film is very Badlands-esque. It's white, it's open, it's sandy, it's dusty, it's deserted, it's kind of cicadary, though it's actually more flies than cicadas. He buys a dog, he brings home a dog one time, and actually for huge swathes of this film, I was reminded, it's incredibly stressful. You feel like you're actually locked in a sort of an abandoned house with a woman descending into postnatal bipolar depression with a baby that I was forever worrying and fretting about. I mean, all the way through this film, I thought she's going to kill the baby. All the way through the film, I thought she's going to kill the baby. There's a moment where they drive off in the car, and actually this was a bit kind of emotional for me, because I thought, oh my God, that poor baby was just left on its own in the house crying as they drove off, and it was erratic. They were irrational. They were never really catering for the child at all. There'd be occasions where, like, Sissy Spacek there's a kind of get-together or a family get-together, and there's lots of other women, extended family members, and you see the dysfunctionality, if you like, of Jennifer Lawrence and Robert Pattinson as they arrive, and they're kind of, people don't know what to make of her. What do you do? You're a writer. Oh, that's interesting. But she's walking around. She's forever in a daze. She's losing her shit. She's going mad. She's unpredictable. She walks around with a knife. She's walking through fields of, hay and fields of grass, and and you know, she's just swishing and switching with the knife. So it's a film in which there's a constant and forever brooding threat of imminent violence, and there are some really violent moments. There's some, not body horror moments, but there are kind of impactful jump scares, if you like, of self-harm. She enters psychosis, she loses her mind, she imagines this guy riding around, a black guy riding around on a motorbike. I found this kind of weird. I mean, look, all of these things make it sound like, wow, God, a rich portrait of, and yes, in essence, Jennifer Lawrence is delivering the performance of a lifetime. But here's my problem with it. I felt that we watched the symptoms of a relationship falling apart, a woman's mind falling apart, her sexual desire and longing sort of being driven inwards and then twisting into even more kind of perverted and weird desire and dysfunctionality and psychosis. So we saw the symptoms of it all. We saw the kind of end result of it, and it starts to kick in quite quickly. We could see the outward expression of her inner falling apart. But what I don't think this film did a very good job of, really, oddly, was really building the kind of foundations of the relationship she had with Robert Pattinson. I think where it was at its weakest was we were giving, Jennifer Lawrence had all of this intense swirling kind of resentment and disconnection and dislocation. The camera was kind of giving us not exactly her point of view, but was reflecting that in overexposed footage of the fields, of black and white footage, of day for night footage. You know, they're all these, and so that was doing all the work. But I didn't really get the connection between her and Robert Pattinson at all. I didn't really get why they were there. And so whilst we got the symptoms of the breakdown, I didn't really feel like we kind of got the build or the cause or a believability to her actually falling apart. It felt like it was a good idea. It felt like they'd read the yellow wallpaper and thought, let's reset this in a kind of Montana shack. And a woman just loses her mind because she's ignored and essentially kind of neglected by her partner, and she loses love and she can't connect with the baby. I mean, I couldn't work out, you know, her connection with the baby was weird. It felt performative, and yet that sounds really unfair given the fact that I like Jennifer Lawrence a lot as an actress. I just found that she was kind of giving us everything, but it ended up feeling almost like, you know, if a kind of pop video was doing kind of mental breakdown and psychosis, it had that, and because it's a pop video, it has a sort of shallowness. It's quite shallow in its depiction. This film had that to it. It didn't really convince me. I didn't feel like I was being taken into places that were really uncomfortable. I just felt like things kept happening to her and she just kept reacting to things. And in a weird way, the ultimate kind of threat, which was either her own death, the baby's death, or perhaps an attack of Robert Pattinson, never really happened. And I suppose that's quite believable in a way. But what I really couldn't get on board with was whether it be magic realist, whether it be slightly kind of in the mind of the beholder and all this kind of stuff, the forest on fire and her walking naked into the fire. I found it a bit cliched and I was a bit disappointed. And I found myself just really by the end of this, really irritated by the yapping dog, a baby that was being completely neglected all the way through it, a woman that just needed to be properly sectioned and looked after, Sissy Spacek, who kept wandering around at night with a gun. You know, look, don't get me wrong, there's some really great, unsettling, odd, weird vignette moments. Like, for example, when Nick Nolte walks into the woods with Jennifer Lawrence and touches the baby in her tummy. And I can't remember what he says. He says something that feels completely kind of seismic and weird. But all in all, it just kind of, it felt like, and this is, I can't believe I'm saying this about Lynne Ramsay, I felt like she was trying to recapture something she really authentically did with Samantha Morton in Morven Caller. I even felt that Jennifer Lawrence was kind of trying to do a Samantha Morton from Morven Caller, an internal, intense descent into psychosis and hell. I don't know, just something didn't connect. And so in the end, it just didn't really quite hit me as powerfully as I think it's hit some people. And I think it thinks it should hit me. But I mean, like, for example, her whole fascination with the guy on the motorbike, who is a different guy to LaKeith Stanfield, who she sees in a sort of gas station. And she has this sort of strange romantic obsession. Is it fantasy? Is it reality that she's having sex with this guy? Is she imagining it? Is she not? I mean, I think it's an interesting film about a woman being who's sexual and likes sex and not being able to kind of have it or do it or indulge in it. And I suppose, yes, it's good about, we all think we can manage more than one thing, like write a book and have a baby, but in reality, it just doesn't work like that. I think one of the problems I had with it was her relationship with Pattinson I didn't find it believable. I wasn't invested in the intensity of their connection right at the beginning, beyond them just having sex. So it felt like they were committing to such huge decisions and staying together and being abandoned in the middle of the kind of rural Montana landscape. It's like, this is a lot, really, when you're still at the stage of just having quick sex with each other. So, I mean, I know that's quite literal. And I know this is based on a book, and I know it's co-written by Enda Walsh, who I love. He's a fantastic playwright. So, you know, everything about this should work, but something just didn't quite ignite or connect for me. I'd be interested to know whether that's because I'm a bloke. Be interested to know, I mean, Jennifer Lawrence, you know, by all accounts, she's a new mum in this film, and she essentially was 4 months pregnant, I think, while shooting huge parts of this film. And she's, you know, I hate the phrase brave, but, you know, she gets undressed, we see a lot of her body, she extracts milk from her boobs, and I don't know if she does it literally. You know, it's a very vulnerable, very visceral performance. I think it's one of those performances that you would definitely go, fucking hell, she needs to be recognised somewhere. She needs to win an award for something. She's given it everything. But in a weird way, I think she was kind of let down by Lynne Ramsay's direction and Lynne Ramsay's, yes, ornate and beautiful and evocative visual kind of surround, you know, stuff that she surrounds her characters with. But there was a disconnect between the two things. It didn't really meld together. And in a weird way, I came out of the film with this assumption. And maybe most of you listening to this are like, I don't know who the fuck Lynne Ramsay is anyway, and I don't ever care who the director is. But I felt like this film suffered under the weight, perhaps, of it being a Lynne Ramsay film, and maybe no one was in a safe enough place to say, can we make this a little bit more, not coherent, because I don't want coherence, but just make this a little bit more meaningful, give this a little bit more depth. Don't just lean on kind of, you know, nice shots or dramatic, scary moments. Can we get a bit more here? And obvious outward kind of expressions of, you know, slamming your head against a window. Yeah, it was shocking and it's horrible. But I could have done with more, I think, more sophistication to her demise, actually. More twisted weirdness. It kind of was trading on the director's reputation, I think. And I think that's always a danger. I think something wasn't working, something wasn't connecting, something was a bit too obvious in Jennifer Lawrence's demise. I think even the actions, the acts, the moments were kind of obvious. I mean, Jennifer Lawrence is great. She's on screen virtually every minute of this film. It does riff on some of those classic paintings of the American Midwest and, you know, that sense of isolation and disconnection and madness. You know, it's a film about sort of the slow slide and descent into rural madness, which I'm well up for. I'm right up for all of that. And it's not to say that the shots don't carry you along, the sequences don't carry you along. They do. But I don't know, I wasn't actually, for all of its intensity and passion at the front, I wasn't really buying into the Pattinson and her connection. There were too many aspects of this that felt too two-dimensional. So all in all, it was kind of weird. It was kind of promising and spurting, and like the key kept going into the ignition and it kept trying to start, but it would never really connect. And yet at the same time, there is still something. I mean, if I was to give you a grab on this, I'd say absolutely just see it, because it is one of Jennifer Lawrence's most, I think, physical and complete performances. I just don't think the film around her was doing as much heavy lifting as it needed to make her performance land even more impactfully, if you like. I think she could have had even more impact with a little bit more thought and cleverness in the context and the surroundings and the setup and the relationship that she was in. Tonally, just very strange. It's a weird thing. I talk about this sometimes. You know, films have an internal rhythm, and this had a rhythm, but it kind of was arrhythmic, so it kind of kept, and that can be a choice, that can be a stylistic choice to kind of break the flow, but this just didn't quite feel like it knew what it was trying to be or what it was really trying to say. And the end, I just found the end really, this is a bit cringe. It was a bit cringe. So if I was to score it, I'd probably give it, 48 out of 100.